My brother laughed at me for being a waitress, but he didn't know the child in the cafe was his. Every morning, I woke up before the sun. The sky was still dark, and the air felt cold on my skin. I washed my face with water that stung my hands, tied my hair back, and wore the same faded uniform I had worn for years. The apron smelled of tea, oil, and long days. I didn't mind. This cafe was not just work. It was survival. The small roadside cafe stood on the edge of town, where buses slowed down and travelers stopped for rest. The walls were old, painted cream once but now cracked and dull. The floor creaked when people walked. The sound of boiling tea, clinking cups, and light chatter filled the space every morning. This place belonged to my grandfather. He sat on a wooden chair near the back, wrapped in a thin shawl. His hair was white now, and his hand shook when he held a cup. Sometimes he smiled at me, proud but tired. This cafe was his life's last strength, and I was his only support. I worked quietly. I served tea. I cleaned tables. I smiled at strangers. This was my world. Then that morning, everything changed. A black SUV stopped outside the cafe. It didn't belong here. The dust on the road settled slowly around its shining body. It looked rich, heavy, and out of place. People inside the cafe turned their heads. Even the sound of traffic seemed to pause for a moment. The car door opened. My heart stopped. He stepped out like he owned the road. Dark suit. Polished shoes. Sunglasses hiding his eyes. My brother. 7 years. 7 long years, and yet my chest felt tight like it was yesterday. He hadn't changed much. He still walked with confidence. Still held his head high. Still looked down on everything that didn't match his world. Now he was a lawyer. Everyone in town knew his name. Everyone spoke of his success. And here I was. A waitress. He looked around, then his eyes fell on me. Slowly, his lips curved into a small smile. "So," he said loudly, "you're still here." His voice felt sharp, like a knife. I stood still, holding a tray of teacups. My fingers tightened around the metal edge. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. Customers watched us quietly. No one spoke. "Still serving tea," he continued, walking closer. "Helping the old man." I didn't answer. I had learned silence was safer. 7 years ago, I left this town with nothing but pain. No money. No support. No respect. Only shame that wasn't mine. He stayed behind. He chose the family name, the pride, the lies. I chose truth. And I paid for it. He walked into the cafe like a man returning after winning a battle. He sat down near the window, crossing his legs, placing his expensive phone on the table. The chair creaked under his weight. "Tea," he ordered, without looking at me. I nodded and turned away. As I poured the tea, memories rushed back. The shouting. The night I cried. The door that closed behind me. I glanced at my grandfather. He was watching from the back, his eyes filled with quiet worry. He didn't know yet. Or maybe he already did. I placed the cup in front of my brother. Our hands almost touched. For a moment, our eyes met. Something old and heavy passed between us. Regret. Pride. Pain. The past had returned. And it was sitting right in front of me. My brother lifted the teacup and took a slow sip. He made a small face, like the taste disappointed him. "Same weak tea," he said. "Some things never improve." His words hit me, but I stayed quiet. I wiped the counter with a cloth that had already seen too many days. The sound of the cloth rubbing against the wood felt louder than his voice. "So," he continued, leaning back in his chair, "how long have you been playing waitress here?" I looked at him. "I work here," I said simply. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "After all these years, this is what you chose." I remembered another day, 7 years ago. I was standing in the same town, but my heart was full of fear. I had gone to him first, trusting him because he was my brother. I had hoped he would protect me. I had hoped wrong. Back then, his face had looked just like it did now. Cold. Certain. Closed. "You could have had a better life," he said. "If you had listened to me." I felt my chest tighten. If you had listened to me, I thought, but I didn't say it. I picked up empty plates from a nearby table. My hand shook slightly, and I prayed he wouldn't notice. I didn't want him to see how much his words still hurt. You disappeared, he said suddenly. You know what people said about you. I froze. I remembered whispers in the street, doors closing, eyes judging. I remembered packing my bag in the dark. I didn't disappear, I said softly. I was pushed out. He laughed under his breath. You always were dramatic. Behind the counter, my grandfather coughed. The sound was weak and dry. I turned my head toward him for a second, just to make sure he was okay. His eyes met mine, full of concern. My brother followed my gaze. He's still alive? He asked. Yes, I said. He's resting. Good, my brother replied. At least someone benefited from your sacrifice. Something about the way he said it felt wrong. His eyes kept studying me, like he was searching for something. Maybe he expected to see regret. Maybe shame. But all he saw was calm. You don't look broken, he said slowly. I thought you would. I forced a small smile. Life doesn't always show its pain on the face. He tapped his phone on the table. I'm here for business, he said. A land deal nearby. I nodded, even though my heart was beating fast. Why now? Why here? 7 years ago, everything ended in one night. Accusations. Silence. A choice made without truth. I had waited for him to ask. To question. To come looking for me. He never did. I hope you found what you were looking for, I said. He stared at me for a moment. Something unreadable crossed his face. Then he smirked. You sound confident, he said. Almost like you're hiding something. The words hung in the air. I felt it then, the shift. He sensed it. I picked up his empty cup. You should finish your tea, I said quietly. It gets bitter if it sits too long. He watched me walk away, his eyes narrowing. Behind me, my heart pounded. He didn't know it yet. But the truth was close. I had just placed the cups in the sink when I heard quick footsteps behind me. Light. Small. Mama. The word echoed through the cafe like a sudden clap of thunder. Before I could turn, a little boy ran past the counter. His laughter was soft and bright, the kind that filled empty spaces. He wrapped his arms around my legs and looked up at me with wide eyes and a smile that could melt stone. Is breakfast ready? He asked. I bent down, brushing his hair gently. Almost, I said. Go sit with great-grandpa. My brother stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. What did he just call you? He asked. The cafe felt silent. Even the kettle seemed to stop breathing. The boy turned and looked at him curiously. His face was small, but clear. The shape of his eyes. The line of his nose. The same as the man standing frozen near the window. My brother's face lost all color. That's not possible, he whispered. I straightened slowly. My heart was steady now. Calm. I had carried this truth alone for 7 years. I was no longer afraid of it. He's my son, I said. The words were simple. Quiet. Final. My brother took a step back. No, he said. You're lying. The boy tugged my hand. Mama, who is he? He asked. I looked down at my son, then back at my brother. A stranger, I said softly. That hurt him more than any accusation ever could. My grandfather appeared from the back room, leaning on his stick. His face looked tired, but his eyes were strong. He placed a gentle hand on the boy's head. He asks about his father sometimes, my grandfather said calmly. I tell him the truth waits for the right moment. My brother's lips trembled. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. I laughed quietly. Not with joy, but with old pain. You never asked, I said. You chose to believe others. You chose silence. Memories rushed back. Me standing alone. My voice shaking. His back turned. I begged you, I continued. You were my brother. I trusted you. You believed lies and threw me out. Tears filled his eyes now. His success, his confidence, his sharp words, none of them could protect him anymore. I ruined everything, he whispered. I shook my head. No, I said. You ruined your chance. The boy walked closer to him, studying his face. You look sad, he said innocently. My brother dropped to his knees. I am, he replied, his voice breaking. I watched him from a distance. I didn't feel victory. I felt release. Some wounds don't heal with apologies. Some truths arrive too late. I picked up my apron and tied it tighter. Breakfast needed to be served. Life needed to continue. As I walked away, I spoke one last time. Some mornings, I said, I was just a waitress. But today, I served you the truth. And it stayed with him long after I turned my back.